Well, good Saturday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here for my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. How are you guys doing today? You know, it reminds me, being back here and being here in my studio set, how much I miss it when I'm not here. I can't wait to get the red brick house finished, so that way when I'm down there, I'm not here, I have a studio where I can sit down at my desk, have my coffee, and start the programming off right and really get knee deep into it. We'll be done before the off season really kicks into getting ready for the season, so that way we will be covered. And that's where I realize that if you want something in life, the only way you're going to get it is hard work. It just is. There are no, everybody now is looking for the get rich quick scheme, let me do Bitcoins and all that, put my money in, and it's just going to all of a sudden come back as a pile of money. That's just not the way it is in the real world. If you want to be successful, you've got to put in the work to get the results that you're looking for. You got to have a plan. You got to bust your ass, and you got to have some luck. Well, here's where we are this year. This year is totally different than last year. Last year was an abomination for an offseason. When we got rid of Amari Cooper, we let Cedric Wilson go, and we literally looked and said, we're going to get a James Washington from, a young guy, James Washington. We're going to make him one of our receivers, and we're going to take a third-round draft pick, and we're going to put the spotlight on Jalen Tolbert. He is going to be great. So they sold us. They put him into the crosshairs of expectations. And see, expectations are the building blocks of resentment. And that spotlight was just too much as a rookie. And the thing is, with the NFL, here's the thing that's kind of crazy too. But you have to understand, football, it used to be, before the last two collective bargaining agreements, you had a lot of time to work with the players. You had more mini camps, you had more OTAs, you had two-a-days in practice. So you had an opportunity to really get work in for those younger guys to get the learning curve to be reduced. Now, you don't. It was crazy being out at training camp, because here's the hard part if you're going out to training camp to cover it, is it's not like you say, well, I'm going to take a week and I'm going to go ahead and see the team work out. It's not like that, because I showed up, second week of camp. I got there Monday afternoon, too late for practice. When a plane got there and got to Oxnard, that was the first padded practice, was Monday. Tuesday, great practice to watch. Second padded practice. Wednesday on the schedule, it said scrimmage. Like, oh, Sookie, we got a scrimmage. Oh, yes. The scrimmage, not only did it happened an hour earlier than it was scheduled. It ended up being a 30-minute walkthrough. Then it was a light practice on Friday and no practice on Saturday. And they broke camp like the following week. There's not a lot of work that goes on. You have to basically show up ready to play, and you're not going to get much coaching. And so if you're a guy like Jalen Tolbert, whose eyes are wide open because now I'm one of them boys, and I'm not getting in that much work and repetitions, it's hard to step up. And a lot of guys that first year, I will say, I look at Terrence Steel. Terrence Steel, who was an undrafted rookie free agent, who never thought he'd get anywhere close to the field his rookie year because Lyle Collins' hip went out because he was overweight, all of a sudden is a starter. All of a sudden he's got to play going through. And people were like, man, Terrence Steel, he's a bust, man. It's like, how's he a bust when he wasn't even drafted? Nah, man, he can't be on the field, man. He's not, man, he's Chaz Green. No, he wasn't Chaz Green. But the next year, the second year, after he has had some time in the NFL, had a full off season to work with the team, he became one of our better offensive linemen. And you could see how much we missed him after he got hurt. That second year was a big step up year for him. And so you look at this and say, okay, all right, maybe Jalen Tolbert can be this year's Terrence Steel. He's putting in the work right now with Dak. See, this is the thing that you actually have to love. I know people have so much trash talk. They talk about Dak as this, that, and the other, and so much hate and everything else. But you know what? I love the fact that he has his own practice field in his backyard, that he gets the guys together in the off season. Times like now, Monday starts OTAs. These guys have been working out on the field with their quarterback. These guys are putting in the work now. So when they start the OTAs, when they start getting around the coaches, they already have a basis of understanding what to do, where to do, and everything else. Dak is like, hey, Jalen, here's what I need, man. You got to do that. Jalen looks like his body is in shape. He looks like he's a man on a mission. And I hope that he can step up and be that guy that Jerry Jones talked about last offseason. And it's funny because as we go through this offseason here, I just want to take you guys back to 105 The Fan about this time last year. I want you guys, I don't think people realize, because, I'm sitting here doing my live streams and I'm listening to people talk about how the Cowboys are such a disappointment that, for what they did last year in the playoffs. Oh, man, they lost to the 49ers, man. They bums. Let me remind people of where we were going into that season. Let's remind people. Let's go back here for a minute.
It's official. This is the worst Dallas Cowboys offseason of the century, Mac?
Name me one. Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday, Kevin, and I can't think of a headline. I can't think of we're almost at 4 months in, right? We're almost at April. And I went back to January 1. Think about how negative it's all been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I God bless the Cowboys. I know you guys are the flagship. They let you guys say whatever you want to say. For my 3 years there's only one time, Sean, that they said, yeah, don't ask that question. Everything else, it's been fair game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody does that. We saw with the Washington Commanders.
Yes.
Their flagship station saying, oh, thank God we can talk about the Commanders now. No longer affiliated with them.
Right.
So, but I looked at really, when I looked at just like a day-by-day timeline, they beat the Eagles on January 8th. They lost 2 out of their 3 games, right? They blamed the officials for basically 2 of the 3 losses, which is terrible. Dak Prescott sits there and endorses fans throwing junk at officials after the San Francisco game. He has to come out and apologize. You've got a PR director who retires. No big deal. 2 weeks later, there's this horrible story about him being accused of voyeurism, which he denied. But the Cowboys have to throw a $2.5 million check at 4 cheerleaders. Dak Prescott has another surgery. The Cowboys trade a wide receiver that they used the number 1 pick on back in 2018 in exchange for a 5th because the coaching staff doesn't like him, right? Then they give all this money to a guy who tore his ACL on January 2nd. Michael Gallup's not going to be ready for camp, right? Tank Lawrence is their best pass rusher. He comes back, that's a highlight. Jerry Jones gets named in a, Springer-like lawsuit. Randy Gregory, whom the Cowboys stuck by, despite the fact that he had done nothing for them for years.
I mean,
gives them
nothing.
the middle finger, right, on a flip. Then they've got to cut Lyle Collins because the coaching staff didn't like him. But they kept their punter.
Mac, why is Stephen Jones the Alan Greenspan of the NFL?
That's a great one-liner,
I mean, that's where we were, guys.
Because it's so – we see all these teams talk about we're in cap hell, we're in cap hell. and then they go out and they trade for Tyreek Hill, or they make these giant moves and add this big contract. I know the salary cap is a real thing, and I've talked to Stephen Jones, whom I like a lot, and he has come to admit and embrace the idea if you're going into free agency, that means you're overspending on that player because you made a big mistake 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, that's fine. That's sound philosophy.
Yeah.
And are you getting any better? The Dallas Cowboys today on March 25th, are they any better today, Sean?
No
than
way.
They were on. Okay.
And no one, not even the biggest Homer fan. I mean, not even Mickey Spagnuolo would make that kid. Mickey might. Mickey might, but
there you go.
Try.
Yeah, he would try. But I don't think anyone would say that. They all.
No.
There you go. So how is it the Dallas Cowboys were a disappointment when nobody expected them to be anything? That they were literally having the worst offseason of the century. Just were. But lo and behold, they still won a playoff game. They still played well, even with their quarterback breaking his thumb. Come on now. The jokes need to end. There were teams that were deemed better than the Cowboys that people thought were going to go a lot further. Quarterbacks who, everybody is still high as can be on, from Aaron Rodgers, who didn't even make the playoffs, to Josh Allen and crew losing their playoffs in the same weekend that we did. And nobody thought that they were having a terrible offseason, but it is the case when you are the Dallas Cowboys. One final note here before we get out of here. We got work to do in the workshop. I was trying to recharge my batteries, but you know what? I am going to be like that firefly. I'm just going to keep on burning and burning and burning and circling around the lights till I burn up, because I've got work to do in the workshop, and I've got some running around and things to do, because we're going to get that red brick house done. And the only way to get things done is to go out and frickin' do them, and that's what we're going to do. But yesterday, we had Micah Parson, who is the de facto face and voice of the Dallas Cowboys, as well as other players, defending Saquon Barkley. The question becomes, though, is when you look at that list and you think of Nick Chubb, you think of Derrick Henry and things like that. We're talking about great running backs that got their yards. Josh Jacobs. None of them made the playoffs. None of them made the playoffs. You're looking at all these all-purpose yards and how good they were, but in the end, none of them made the playoffs. So, yes, they're getting yardage. Yes, they're helping the offense, but they're not getting the big wins. And in the end, I hate to say it, but, it's been a long time since we've seen that bellwether back, since like Terrell Davis, that's winning Super Bowls. And that's a long time. So, I don't know. I guess the question would ask is, would Jim Brown, if he was in a young Jim Brown, we're in the NFL now, would Jim Brown be winning Super Bowls? In the current NFL, I'm not sure that he would. Maybe that's a discussion we'll have in the future. All right, good people. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and we'll be here bringing you the news on the Cowboys.
Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
We'll see you soon.